Good morning, greetings, friends, and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I'm your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I specialize in using nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your vitality and health and well-being and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body. You are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health issue. That's why we're here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 29 years of practicing pharmacy, I've seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes and hypertension and obesity and skin diseases like acne and psoriasis and eczema and rosacea, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds. Recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure. Because the human biological system is a healing system. It's a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis. And while some folks may call that healing, renewing, regenerating system a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health or nutrition or prescription drugs, we welcome your calls on The Bright Side. Our number 844-236-6010, 844-236-6010. If you have questions about the longevity products or ingredients or formulations or skincare or something you may have heard about on the news or something you may have heard about on this program, 844-236-6010 is our number. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear advertised on the program, please head over to brightsideben.com, criticalhealthnews.com, or pharmacistben.com. You can order products right off the websites. Pharmacist Ben and criticalhealthnews.com are also blogs, which I blog on regularly, and also there's news stories up there as well. If you want to join the Brightside Ben team, you can do it right off the website also. Or you can call the Brightside Ben phone team at 866-735-2470. Start yourself a longevity business and help spread the word about the power and importance of a good nutritional supplement program. And if you want to purchase any of our Truth Treatment products, Truth Retinol Gel, Truth Balm, Truth Serum, or our Omega-6 Healing Cream, please head to truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. Okay, so we're talking about activated EFAs, eicosanoids. These are the hormones of inflammation and anti-inflammation. There's no inflammation that occurs in the body without these super important activated EFAs. If that doesn't tell you everything you want to know about why you should be supplementing with a good EFA supplement that's in balance, and by the way, nobody really knows how much EFAs anyone needs. There's no way to know because as our bodies are growing and developing and healing, our EFA needs change. So there's no way to know how much to take on your essential fatty acids, your ultimate EFAs or your ultimate EFA plus. Personally, I think it's better to overdose because they're non-toxic and your body's just going to store or get rid of what it doesn't use. So 9 a day, 12 a day, you can't really overdose on these things. You want to go by your symptoms, especially if you have skin symptoms. EFAs, eicosanoids, this is all about the inflammatory system in the body. When you hear the word inflammation, if you're like most folks in this culture, when we hear that word, we think it's somehow a bad thing. But let me tell you something. Inflammation is about survival. Inflammation is not a bad thing. It's an incredibly important thing. This is why you have more inflammatory hormones in your body than you do anti-inflammatory. At least you have more inflammatory eicosanoids, omega-6 fatty acids, the inflammatory fatty acids, than you do omega-3s. Inflammation is a key component of survival. It's not a bad thing, despite the fact that a large proportion, if not the most important proportion of the drugs that we take are anti-inflammatory. So you get this idea, all get this idea in our culture that we want to be suppressing inflammation. That is not the case. Inflammation is critical. We want inflammation, however, not to be chronic, and we want it in balance. There's a difference here. It's not like you want to shut down inflammation. You want to balance it. It's not like you want to shut down inflammation. You just don't want your body inflamed all the time. It's not the inflammatory process itself that's the issue. It's the chronic, never-ending inflammation from the way we eat, basically. Remember, we said this whole inflammatory process is about food, and it's about thinking and feeling. So we're going to leave that aside for now. Love to do a show just on that someday. But in terms of nutrition, in terms of health, in terms of biochemistry, strictly biochemistry, it's the foods we're eating, period. Again, this isn't about beating up anybody for foods, but you got to understand, if you're dealing with excessive inflammation, it's foods. Not in this airy-fairy kind of way, but in a scientific, hardcore biochemistry way. If you're dealing with excessive inflammation in the body, it is largely a food issue. Now, there is inflammation, of course, that's associated with damage over the course of time. We get damage, and that will cause an inflammatory problem. Broken cells, dead cells, ugly cells, deformed cells. Again, probably because of food, but once there's broken down tissue in the body or dysfunctional cells or deformed cells, that can cause inflammation too. This is something that is really missed a lot. If we have long-term degeneration, long-term inflammation, what ends up happening is cells become deformed. They can't do their work. They have their own self-destruct program, so they blow up, basically, like the old Mission Impossible TV show, where it says, this tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Well, guess what? Cells have a self-destruct program. Cell suicide, they call it. Apoptosis is the fancy word. What it means is cells will kill themselves when they're deformed. But here's the problem. When a cell kills itself, now you got all this cell debris. You got enzymes and chemicals and parts of cells, and that all has to be cleaned up. Once in a while, it's one thing, but when it happens over and over again, that's a source of inflammation also. Now, you can't do anything about that until you control the food problem and the digestive issues. That's why every single person that I ever talk to about a health challenge, the first thing I say is foods, and digestion, that whole 30-foot tube that runs from our mouth to the other end. And this is, remember, we started talking about fats. We said fats are difficult to process. So the fatty part of the body needs special attention. Fatty nutrients, EFAs, need special attention. They're not in foods. And if you're dealing with an inflammatory issue, you want to be supplementing. And if you have a skin problem, first and foremost, consider it a fatty issue. Fat nutrient deprivation, that is shortages or deficiencies in vitamin A, particularly little bumps on the arms, acne, eczema, psoriasis, all of these are classic signs of vitamin A deficiency, which is very common, incredibly common. Not only because we don't get much of it in our diet, but also because it's hard to process. So fat, if you have any kind of skin issue, think fats. Vitamin A, vitamin D. It's such a tragedy that we have a vitamin D deficiency problem, considering it should be easy to get, at least in the summertime. That's why you want to be out in the sun. And don't let anybody ever tell you that vitamin D is, from a supplement or vitamin D from a food is the same as vitamin D from the sun. It's not. Vitamin D from the sun is of a far superior quality, and vitamin D from the sun actually acts as a sun protection. In any case, vitamin D and A work together. They're hormones. And they're very, 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 very important for the skin, especially if you're dealing with a skin problem, including aging, by the way, including accelerated aging, wrinkles and fine lines. Everybody wants a wrinkle cream, and I've been in the skin business, and I've made my share of wrinkle creams, but a good vitamin A supplement or a good nutritional supplement program that features vitamin A and vitamin D is way more important than any wrinkle cream you could ever use. And as it turns out, the best wrinkle cream is vitamin A wrinkle cream, retinol or retinoic acid. And then you have your EFAs. Take a bunch. Get on a loading dose. If you haven't taken EFAs before, get on what we call loading dose, where you take a ridiculously high amount, 12, 15, 18 capsules a day. Or if you're going to do the liquid, swig it out of the bottle, tablespoons full. And then you can wean yourself down. And watch for your conditions, whatever, if you have a condition, a skin condition, watch for it to improve. And always use vitamin E with your EFAs. Vitamin E and EFAs go together. EFAs, remember, are unstable, and vitamin E is your protector vitamin. It protects EFAs. Smart companies like Longevity will put vitamin E in with their EFAs, but it wouldn't hurt you to take extra vitamin E. I've been meaning to talk about vitamin E, really super duper important vitamin, and we will get to that when we finish talking about omegas and eicosanoids. On the bright side, I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more good health information right after this. Don't go away. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number, and we do have lines open for you, 844-236-6010. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear recommended on the program, please head to brightsideben.com or pharmacistben.com or criticalhealthnews.com. And if you'd like to start a longevity business and earn some thank you checks for turning people on to the longevity products, you can call the Brightside Ben phone team at 866-735-2470. They can tell you all about it. All right, we're talking EFAs, essential fatty acids, omega-3s and omega-6s. Deficiencies are just so common. They're not in foods. You got to supplement. If you've tried to use, by the way, retinol products, My Truth Retinol gel, 5% gel, or any retinol or retinoic acid products, and you find yourself really peeling excessively, that's a classic sign of an EFA deficiency. Flakiness in the skin is also a classic sign of an EFA deficiency, flakiness. Now, in the skin, it's probably going to be an omega-6 deficiency. And by the way, acne also can be associated with these kinds of deficiencies. Sebum skin oils are kept liquid by the actions of essential fatty acids, omega-6 essential fatty acids. Under deficiency conditions, the body will stick in thicker fats, whatever fats it can find, to make sebum, to make skin oil. And this has a tendency to make the sebum thick and sticky and cloggy. And this is one of the reasons why people end up with zits, with breakouts. The sebum is too viscous or too sticky to flow efficiently through the pores, and it sticks in the pores. So if you have acne or if you have eczema or psoriasis, these are all issues to think about omega-6 essential fatty acids. Omega-3s are important. There's no doubt about it. Omega-3s are important for anti-inflammation, to balance things out. But omega-6s are important because they're a part of the structure of the skin. They're both important. I don't want to say which one is more important than the other. It's the balance that you're looking at. 2-to-1, 3-to-1, omega-6 to omega-3. You always want more omega-6s than omega-3s. If you have psoriasis or eczema, one or the other, you may notice benefits by taking extra omega-3s. You may notice benefits by taking extra omega-6s. For that matter, you're going to have to play with it. There's a really neat omega-6 fatty acid called gamma-linolenic acid, GLA, and we're going to talk about that probably tomorrow. Man, is that important stuff. And that one is really tricky to get, but it's got some wonderful, literal medical benefits, not just supplemental benefits, medical benefits, GLA. And it's a derivative of omega-6s. Omega-3s are the ones you hear about, although in the last, I'd say maybe the last year, couple of years, there's been these studies that come out where they say, well, we tested omega-3s and it turns out they don't do anything for Alzheimer's disease. We tested omega-3s and it turns out it doesn't do anything for heart disease, blah, 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 blah. Because this is the idea that you take a supplement for a disease is where you get these crazy conclusions that the mainstream media draws, that you take this supplement and it didn't help this disease, so somehow that means the supplement's not important. That's not how it works. Omega-3s are not a cure for anything. They're not a remedy for anything, but they're important. They're critically important. And most people don't get enough. So the problem with omega-3s nowadays anyway is there's a perception problem. There was an article in this month's a trade journal, nutritional supplement trade journal called Nutraceuticals World that talks all about it. They say omega-3s have gotten some bad press lately because of these, over the last couple of years, maybe 7 or 8 studies have come out. Oh, it didn't help for this disease, didn't help for that disease. Don't pay attention. You need your omega-3s. And they're hard to get. The omega-3s are found in seeds, flax and hemp. Flaxseed oil and hemp seed oil, those are 2 great sources. Probably the 2 best sources, at least. Well, they're the 2 best, flaxseed and hemp seed, chia seed also. Those are probably the 3 best sources of what are called parent omega-3s. There are derivative omega-3s that are found in fish and seafood, and they're also important, but they're not essential the way the ones from flax and hemp and chia are. My advice is to use both, a seed oil and a fish oil together. That way you make sure you cover all your bases. The technical name for omega-3 is ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, ALA. That's a technical name for omega-3. The stuff you get in fish oil is called DHA and EPA. That's different. Not that it's not important, it's just different. ALA is the one that's converted into anti-inflammatory eicosanoids. Now, everybody knows these days that fish And seafood is the best source for these two specialized omega-3s, DHA and EPA. These things are incredibly important for the brain, the eyes, and the nervous system, especially as it's developing in a fetus or in a child. Mothers, fish oil, omega-3s, mothers-to-be, and in the breastfeeding, because these things come out in the breast milk. If you're not a vegan or vegetarian, use fish, krill, cod. These are all wonderful sources of oil. You can also eat the fish, of course, and eat the shrimp. If you're a vegetarian now, over the last year maybe, very recently, there's omega-3 oil that comes from algae and spirulina. Vegetarians and vegans apparently have no problem eating algae or vegan. That's a whole other story. How come vegans don't mind eating algae and spirulina and other ocean creatures? That's a good question. If you're a vegan, I would wonder about that. But anyway, if you are vegan, most vegans will eat those kinds of things. So you can now get your DHA and EPA. Previously, vegans couldn't do that because DHA and EPA was only really found in fish. Now you can get algae oil. And it's still kind of expensive, but as the technology improves, the production technology improves, you'll be able to get algae oil, and then you'll get your DHA and EPA. Point being, DHA and EPA are really important. Brain, eyes, nervous system, especially in kids and fetuses and infants and babies who are breastfeeding. So eicosanoids, souped up essential fatty acids. That makes taking your essential fatty acids critical. That means taking them in a balance is important. You want to make sure you have enough of both, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, something like that. In a simplistic way, you could just say your omega-6s are turned into the eicosanoids of inflammation, and omega-3s are turned into the eicosanoids of anti-inflammation. But that's very simplistic. You don't want to think about it necessarily that way, although if you're a chemist, it's kind of interesting. From a nutritional supplement standpoint, you want them both, and you want them in balance. A very underappreciated source of omega-3s is green leafy vegetables and grasses, particularly wheatgrass. Just like algae and spirulina have these omega-3s, algae and spirulina and bacteria and plankton that live on the surface of the ocean. I shouldn't say bacteria, but microbes, single-cell organisms that are literally, they're a complete organism, but they're only a cell. You guys, check that out. Single-cell organisms, they live on top of the ocean. These things are amazing. They're the size of a cell, which is to say microscopic, but they do everything an animal does. They're called single-cell organisms, and they're super, super healthy. Why? Because they have everything you need for life. Remember, we always say, if you eat a living life, you're going to get everything you need for your life. That's why nutritional yeast is so important. That's why eggs are so important. That's why oysters and living foods are so important. That's why wheatgrass is so important, although wheatgrass is not an animal cell. And that's why ocean creatures, single-cell ocean creatures, are so vital from a nutritional standpoint. And when it comes to fats, they're packed, loaded with them. But grasses too, and green leafy veggies, these are good sources of omega-3s that are sometimes underappreciated. Arugula, in particular, is a good source of omega-3s. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back with your phone calls right after this. Don't go away.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Okay, we are back on the bright side. Got a couple lines open for you. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you want to purchase any of our Truth Treatment products, including our Retinol 5% gel or Truth Serum, made with a whole bunch of premium fat-soluble vitamin C, go to truthtreatments.com. Truthtreatments.com. We also blog skincare. We have a skincare blog up there as well. It's truthtreatments.com. Okay, 844-236-6010 is our number. Report, drug maker was focused on profits, not patients. Oh my God. This bipartisan report from the Senate Finance Committee concluded that California-based Gilead Sciences Incorporated was focused on maximizing revenue for its hepatitis C medications, even as the company's own analysis showed a lower price would allow more patients to be treated. Oh my God, what a shocker. The stuff costs $1,000 a pill, $84,000 for a treatment for Hep C, which is a lifestyle issue, by the way. Surprise, surprise. This is Charles Grassley. He's just, oh my God, he's beside himself that Gilead Pharmaceuticals was actually focused on profits, not patients. Oh, and by the way, they have a new drug. That's their first drug, Sovaldi. They have a new high-end version, which is actually $10,000 more expensive, $94,000. Are you kidding me? Do you know, this stuff costs pennies to make, pennies. How can you live with yourself, you guys? Sovaldi, Harvoni, Gilead. You're talking about a penny transformed into $94,000. Do the math on that. There is not an industry on the planet that's even remotely close to this kind of gouging. How dare a company even exist like this? And I'm a capitalist. I don't have any problems with that. But come on, you guys. We should be revolting against these companies by not using their products, by not using their drugs. You don't need these things. Sovaldi, Harvoni. If you have hepatitis C, you have a liver problem. If you have a liver problem, you got primarily a digestive problem, but also toxicity issues. And putting more drugs in your body is not the answer. Okay. 844-236-6010. Let's go to Glenn from yesterday. Glenn, what's up, my man? Hey, Glenn. Hey, Glenn. What's going on?
Wow. I called in when you gave the number at the top of the hour. If you had let me know that you weren't going to take calls till later, I could have saved 25 minutes and try to get stuff done around the house.
Oh, Glenn, you're breaking my heart here, man. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Well,
all right, what's up?
I wanted to reprise the topic I started calling about yesterday, but when I only got a couple minutes because it was at the end of a bunch of people with 2 and 3 and 4 calls.
Sound like you're complaining a lot there, Glenn. Do you complain a lot?
Yeah.
Are you a complainer?
No, you're mismanaging. I'm not complaining. I think you're mismanaging the calls. Yeah,
okay.
That's actually the issue here.
I'll take that under advisement. Thank you.
Well, good. Very good. Good idea. About chronic inflammatory process and all that sort of stuff. Okay, basically 2 ways to fight excess inflammation or inappropriate inflammation, steroidal or non-steroidal. A lot of people up there with chronic inflammatory process that's not good, so they're looking for relief, have a tendency to reach for aspirin or ibuprofen. Tylenol, of course, is acetaminophen is not an anti-inflammatory; it's an antipyretic and an analgesic. But anyway, so we was calling yesterday about supplements,
nutrition,
homeopathic stuff that could help. Now, you had mentioned a number of things. You mentioned. Several water-soluble vitamins, B's and C's, and minerals, magnesium and zinc. About magnesium specifically, magnesium carbonate's not very utilizable. Magnesium citrate tends to be a little rough on the gut. There is magnesium salicylate, which is historically been sold as Dillon's pill for back pain. So
and aspirin cream.
Good choice. That's a topical. I'm talking about orals.
Doan's pills is magnesium salicylate. So that's got anti-inflammatory properties. Do you have a background in nutrition or health, or you just you like to read up on this stuff?
I'm an RN.
So, you're an RN. Oh, I love it. Love RNs. Love RNs. That's awesome. Where do you work? A hospital or a doctor's office?
I do private duty home care for special needs kids, CP kids and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome, Glenn. Awesome. So I'm going to run out of time here, man. We're going to have to take a break, and then I'm going to let you go. So ask a question, because I'd love to hear what you. Okay. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear.
Well, in terms of preferred, I know Magtorate, Magorotate are more easily absorbed. Is Mag salicylate, a good option for inflammatory pain, and does it supply as a source of magnesium as well?
Yeah, it's not a great source of magnesium, but the fact that you get the salicylic acid in there is a benefit. I wouldn't use it as a source of magnesium, that's for sure.
Oh, no, but as a pain, as an NSAID, it's good though. Okay.
As a aspirin, a source of salicylate, it's actually great because you get the magnesium too. So it's probably as a source of salicylate. It would be my favorite source of salicylate. Magnesium is ridiculously important as an anti-inflammatory, pain reliever, relaxing kind of supplement, and because it's mostly found in greens, most people are going to be deficient in magnesium. Plus, if you're not replacing it as you're urinating, you're going to be deficient in it as well. So magnesium is just an all-time great nutritional supplement, and then you get the salicylic acid. So of course you get the anti-inflammatory benefits.
The taurates and the orotates are pricey, though.
They are pricey, but they're good. They're worth it. They're worth it. I like aspartates. Let me tell you why I like aspartates. Seeing as how you know a little bit about this stuff. For the listeners, aspartates, citrates, and taurates. These are different amino acids, not the citrate, but they take amino acids and they stick them to the minerals. That's called a chelate. And this chelated mineral is very handy because it's easy to absorb, number one, and also it's a good source of amino acids. And the aspartate is a nice brain stimulant, although you don't want to go crazy with aspartates, as Dr. Blaylock has pointed out, but a little bit it acts like a little bit of a brain stimulant. So I like magnesium aspartate, and I usually look for aspartates wherever I can find them, just to get that that brain burst, if you will. You don't want to go crazy on it though, but a little bit, gives you a little spark. Aspartates, that is. Okay. Good deal, Glenn. Thanks for calling. Thank you, man. Have a great day. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. I love RNs, man. Love RNs. I remember, if you go to if you're a veteran and you go take the post office exam, they put you to the front of the line if you're a veteran. If you sign your name and you take your Scholastic Aptitude Test, the SAT tests, and you sign your name, you get 200 points just for signing your name. Well, I always thought that when an RN dies and goes to heaven, she gets 200 points or he gets 200 points if he said he was if they tell the Heavenly Father they're an RN, they get extra 200 points because being an RN is equivalent to being a saint. Not being a doctor, being an RN. And if you've ever been in a hospital, you know. So we love our RNs. Love our RNs. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. Ken in Ohio. Welcome to the bright side. What's going on, my man?
Brother Ben, I appreciate you so much. I've followed you for about 3 years now. I've lost over 100 pounds.
Nice.
And, commercial.
Hey, no, Ken, but I want to hear how you lost the weight, and then we'll get your question as well. Thank you so much. Hang on, I apologize. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you're on hold, hang tight, and we do have a couple lines open for you if you'd like to get on. 844-236-6010 is our number on The Bright Side. We'll be back after this.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
All right, we're back on The Bright Side from the United States National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. Sleep apnea devices lower blood pressure. For those suffering from sleep apnea, the disrupted sleep and reduction of oxygen getting to the brain, the reduction of oxygen getting to the brain can contribute to high blood pressure. No duh. What have we been saying on the program here, The Bright Side here, for years? Hypertension, high blood pressure, needs to be regarded first and foremost as hypoxia, low blood oxygen. You don't need a sleep apnea machine if you have high blood pressure, though. You can just practice your deep breathing techniques. Do not underestimate the power and importance of good, slow, deep breathing. 15 seconds in through the nose, all the way to the bottom of your belly. Get through that little sticking point at the top of your chest, and then exhaling through the nose, 15 seconds slowly. Most of us won't be able to do 15 seconds, but it's a great goal to work towards. 15 seconds in, 15 seconds out through the nose, in through the nose, and out through the nose. All right, Ken in Ohio. Sorry to cut you off there, my man. How'd you lose 100 pounds?
Well, I want to tell you that, but I want to say hello to my friend Teresa in Nashville, Indiana, who is a nurse.
Oh, great.
Wish her the best in her health challenges. Listening to you, following you to the letter, mainly the crayon and the ketogenic diet, which I live on constantly. I'm a truck driver. I'm looking here in the dash. I have whey protein, raw egg. I have TT, osteoethic.
That's awesome. That's
glutamine, and it's the ultimate amino acid.
I love it. I'll tell you what, Ken. Why don't you do this for me? Send an email, ben@ksco.com with your address, and I'll send you out a free Beyond Tangy Tangerine on me.
I appreciate that so much.
You bet. Ben at ksco.com. Put your address and mailing address for the post office, and I'll send it out to you. So what's going on? How can I help you, bro?
Well, I want to ask you a quick question about fasting, and then about history. About when I fast, and I basically live on the calorie restriction, alpha nutrition diet, and ketogenic. I'm on liquid, but when I fast, do I break my fast when I take the whey protein and the supplements? Am I breaking the fast, or am I keeping the ketones going when I'm fasting?
To the you're not going to affect the ketones all that much with just whey protein and supplements. Supplements aren't going to affect it at all, but the whey protein will affect it a little bit, but not much. There's some sugar, lactose in the whey protein, but not much. And you know what? I get that question a lot. How do you fast? Look, it doesn't really matter. If you want to eat, eat. If you don't want to eat, don't. If you can avoid eating, that's probably best. But if you have to have something to eat, it's not going to be the end of the world. The point is that you want to calm the digestive system down. Give it a break. If you give it 99% of a holiday, that's better than nothing. Or if you give it 95%, 94%, the more you fast, the less you eat, the better off you're going to be.
Okay. Well, thank you so much on that. The question is, you mention all the time about the history of food empires, and the pharmaceutical and how they came to be in America.
Yeah.
And can you? I'm just so interested in studying that, the
history side of it,
and how it became. How do you recommend any books or any teachers I can follow?
About the relationship of food and empire and cultures and all that. There's a great book called Empires of Food. Have you heard of that book, Empires of Food? I forgot who wrote it.
Maybe I've heard you mention it before.
It's one of my favorites. I forgot who wrote it though, and it tracks the history of empire with the history of grains. The first empire was the Sumerian Empire, and that's a story in and of itself, how this empire just sprouted out of the middle of nowhere in the middle of Sumeria, which is the desert, basically. Where Iraq is and Syria and all those countries where everybody's, complaining and causing so much trouble today. That was the first empire, and it appeared out of nowhere. Now, if you listen to George Norrie or folks who study these things, there's some reasons why it appeared out of nowhere, but that's past the scope of this program, as fascinating as it is. The point is that it was the first grain culture. The Tigris and the Euphrates, they figured out how to irrigate the desert, basically, with the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, and they enslaved the people because the people didn't, digging ditches is not exactly what people want to do. So they created empires and police and military and all of these kinds of things, a hierarchical structure with a king and with priests, and it was all designed in order to get the people to do the leaders' bidding, the elites' bidding, especially around farming and agriculture and irrigation, etc. And then it proceeded to the Persian Empire and the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire and the Chinese Empire, and all these were empires of food. They were all grain empires up until the British Empire and then finally the American Empire. All of these empires were associated with grains and with food for a lot of reasons. Number one, they were a source of calories, so if you could control the food, you could control the people's calories. Obviously, that's going to be important. But number two, grains have a dumbing down effect. Grains make you sleepy. Grains have a pain relieving effect. Comfort foods are grains. So they got to control the people, and they got to control their food all in one fell swoop, and this is how empires began. The relationship between grains and empires is inextricably linked throughout history, which is one reason why you want to be very skeptical about food recommendations from governments when they suggest that you eat grains. It's part of there's an element of slavery associated with grains, with grain farming, and with grain ingestion. Yes, sir.
Well, there's religious tyranny too. I hear you.
There is all of that. Absolutely, religion and government.
I'm interested in studying these tyrannies and how they grow to be.
There's so many places you can go. The internet's full of stuff. You got to kind of weed through, and you got to get. The way you want to do research is you don't want to believe everything you see, but you want to kind of start to notice trends and start to form theories based on the trends and based on the facts. Jordan Maxwell, do you know who Jordan Maxwell is? I think he's written about it. This Michael Tessarian's written a lot about this stuff.
There you go.
If you want to just research Michael Tessarian, Tsarion. Jon, Jordan Maxwell. There's probably a few other ones. There's other people I'm missing. I don't really know the names that well. Although those two guys are very famous. Anyway, I got to move on. Ken, thanks so much for your call.
I'll change that.
Send me your address.
Email. I appreciate that, Brother Ben. Thank you so much.
God bless you, man. Good luck. Happy holidays to you and your family. Thanks. All right, Rose in Virginia. What's going on? How you doing, Rose?
Hi, I'm okay, thank you. I'm calling for Stephen because at first I wanted to ask you, thank you for reminding this thing of arugula because I'm an advocate of arugula. But
arugula is awesome.
It's high in iron, but I didn't know it was high in O3, and I'm always telling the people, instead of taking spinach, if I were you, I would take arugula because
they're both good. They're both good. You got to steam them a little bit if you really want to do it. I would steam them because they got those phytates in there that can tie up minerals, but they're still great, and they're great at the beginning of meals. They stimulate your digestive juices, bitters like arugula and parsley and dandelion greens, etc. They'll stimulate your digestive juices, so they're especially good if you had a gallbladder missing, or I know you have some digestive things going on, Rose. It's great to start off your meals with those bitters, they call them, or bitter greens.
Well, the problem is, like in my case, that I need to have a high diet in iron. I know for sure because I've done the research. The spinach leaches iron. So, and I learned that with you too. Remember, you said it the other day. We have learned so many things. I wanted to ask you. I noticed, and I'm not saying this in a critical way, just as a reminder. When you mentioned that to take A and E, I learned this with
A and D.
Vitamin.
I said A and D, not A and E.
And D?
Yeah. They go together. A and D go together.
A and D, okay. Because when we take E, we should always remember that E comes in the A forms,
8 different forms, that's right.
Yeah. I want to thank you for the correction of the D. I guess I didn't hear you correctly.
Yeah, A and D go together. A and D go together.
Okay.
Now, A and E have some interesting anti-estrogen properties, so they they're together in a certain way. But A and D are two vitamins that you want to think about as taking together. They're the only hormone vitamins.
Yeah, my question about Steve is this, Steve. I may have to ask him to call you, but he has been having some spots in his stomach.
Spots in his stomach?
Yeah, and.
Or his belly, on the skin, you mean, on the outside? On his belly?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, are they red? Or what color?
Red. It's on the side.
On the side of his belly. It's a red spot?
Yeah, the red spot, so I may have him to call you.
You better have him call me. Now, that's a symptom. That's not a problem. That's a sign of a problem. So you want to look for other problems. Whenever you have something that just appears out of the middle of nowhere and you can't really link it to anything, you want to start to collect various symptoms. Collect the dots and then connect the dots. So you got to look for other symptoms. And most important are going to be digestive symptoms and then also problems with blood sugar. If you feel tired after meals, for example, or you're constantly hungry, those can be signs of hypoglycemia usually following some kind of digestive health issue. I'd always be looking at the digestive system first, Rose. And I think, as I recall, Steve did have some problems that way. But have him call me or call back tomorrow. We're out of time. All right. Thanks for listening, friends. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Check out my website, brightsideben.com, or our blogs, pharmacistben.com or criticalhealthnews.com. You can purchase longevity products right off the site. And don't forget about truthtreatments.com for your skin health treatment products. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Have an awesome, wonderful, beautiful day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.